What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to talk to you on Lucid. I want to give you an overview of some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, one possibly being the upcoming Q3 earnings that is about 2 business days away. So I wanted to go over all the things that you need to know as well, what's been coming out from the company recently. Before I get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that, let's get right to it. So based on Friday, it did go up 1.76%, a lot of volatility. So it had $4.85 as the high, so it was piggybacking off of Thursday's positive momentum. A lot of volume, so 32.17 million shares being traded versus 26.2 is the average. So a lot of money was definitely getting into Lucid, especially you can tell during power hour there was some abnormal stuff going on right here. I'm not really sure exactly what that was. It wasn't shorts, but I'll give you an overview of what shorts did. When it comes down to this upcoming week, there isn't really any data points to really pay attention to that could cause a lot of volatility. Rather, there's a hell of a lot of Fed speakers, which depending on what is said, it could cause a little bit more of a positive continuation or it might cause a lot of fear. And based on this, so this is kind of the lineup of Fed speakers. Some are talking on banking, some are talking on interest rates. So obviously hot topics given the circumstances of what's been coming out lately. So yeah, definitely something to pay attention to, as well a full lineup for the full week for earnings. After hours Tuesday, yours truly is going to be essentially unveiling their earnings or Q3 earnings. Oddly enough, Earnings Whispers only shows Rivian, and typically they show the more popular companies up higher. So Lucid doesn't even make it, and somehow Wish is more popular than Lucid. So I think there might be a little bit more of an oversight and error when it comes down to this, the fact that they are omitting Lucid. But still, once again, when it comes down to the upcoming Lucid earnings, some analysts have been doing some fairly interesting things, a little bit more optimistic. So looking at the earnings per share, an analyst did recently up their rating. So it went from -36 to -35 cents. And most likely that is as a result of the lower anticipated vehicles being produced and delivered. So of course that will result in less costs and less expenses and obviously kind of a better earnings per share. So once again, there's that. And for revenue, it looks like one analyst did recently get on board. So it went from 7 to 8 analysts, but it did go from 207 to 183 million. So one analyst, very bearish, did get on board. But if you kind of zoom out and look at what the analysts are expecting for the foreseeable future, it is positive. So obviously Q3 earnings not necessarily going to be the best based on the estimates, but Q4 and onwards, that is where bigger and better things are anticipated. So once again, maybe this might be the last time I'm saying this, but I think this upcoming earnings might be potentially the last one. But then again, I have said that last 3 earnings. So there's always one thing that Lucid does typically fail on, and unfortunately the market just takes it and runs. So hopefully this time around Lucid hits a home run, and it is very surprising. And especially when it comes down to shorts, I don't think they are anticipating any good earnings. So based on Friday, shorts did return around 846,000 shares, 25.37% of the free float is being shorted, and 223.09 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average is 12.16. But looking through the interactive brokers short availability does indicate that there is 0 shares available to short. So shorts are definitely overextended when it comes down to Lucid, clearly because, like I said, they are not anticipating anything good to come from their earnings. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. But when it comes down to some of the questions that is coming out from retail, I'll go over some of the top ones. Obviously, retail asks questions. Management typically asks around 3 to 5 questions if they feel sorry for us, sometimes a little bit more. But oddly, I did have to scroll down and nobody's really asked this, and especially what came out recently, I think around a month and a half or 2 months ago, about Peter making an enormous amount of money in 2022. This question is, any plans for the CEO to take a pay cut? The company is struggling, which I do completely agree. I think at this stage, especially with Lucid's stock performance and many other things, and just operational performance, Like, why is Peter getting paid so much? And nothing against Peter, well, kind of against Peter a little bit. There's a lot of better alternatives just even within the own company itself, one of which is Michael Bell. So technically he just did, I think it was around 1 day ago, put out 10 questions with Michael Bell. Very knowledgeable individual, nothing wrong with him whatsoever. Same with 𝗖𝗧𝗛𝗪. Both would be very good CEOs. Very well spoken, both very smart, and kind of know how to drive business. They know what the real world is, if that makes sense. Whereas when it comes down to Lucid and their Q3 earnings, like Peter just comes off, like he diverts questions quite a lot. And once again, I've said that many times in the past. A lot of their earnings, it's kind of a gong show, only because like you ask him a question like, what day is it? And he's like, well, you know, our technology is amazing and whatever else. It's like, answer the damn question. And I don't know why. I was kind of preparing for this video and I was going through the Q1 2023 earnings and I kind of had to chuckle to myself. So there was this little snippet right here. So for those of you that were participating in the Q1 earnings, I don't know if you remember, but Peter kept saying like, oh, a lot of people think that this is a $200,000+ vehicle, but yet it's only 87.5 or whatever else, or 87.4. So he kept doing these sales pitches, and it kind of was about 3 or 4 times he actually did say that supposedly these people seem to be saying that the Lucid Air is a $200,000 car and that they were very pleasantly surprised to find out it was only 87.4. So I don't know. At this stage of the game, I kind of found this a little bit funny because especially what recently came out right here saying that Lucid is cutting their prices just for November, in fact. But like I've said in the past, this technically is a little bit more of a red flag essentially, because if you have sufficient amount of demand, you never need to cut the prices. And the price cuts are happening right here. So the Air Pure is about 74.9 now, down from 82.4. And that's very concerning because the Pure was the lower price vehicle that was supposed to be kind of the driving factor for Lucid, at least up until the Gravity comes out. And unfortunately, them cutting isn't necessarily a good thing. And then Air Touring down to 87.5. So still not the best. And then Air Grand Touring down 10,000, which obviously I think is kind of normal because Air Grand Touring has been completely garbage. No demand from the get-go. They've had a massive surplus. It's just been a big flop, unfortunately. So once again, that's just my own interpretation. But no matter what though, November the 16th, the Gravity is going to be coming out. So we'll be able to at least find out the price point based on that. And hopefully that's acceptable. So within about the $80,000 to $100,000 range, or potentially ideally even less, then that would be able to sufficiently push the demand and get in a lot of reservations. I know they're not giving us updates on the reservations, but still, I think that would be a fairly good thing. I digress. I did go off topic a little bit, my apologies, but the top questions are no real changes, unfortunately, since the last couple of times I've really talked on them. So clearly, investors just want to know about operational updates and just what is Lucid going to be doing about the stock price, because in reality, that is kind of 2 things that investors care about. So first question is, what is the plan for Lucid to expand their operations and start becoming a profitable company? Like I've said, I think they'll be able to answer the first part, but they will not be talking on this. They can't at this stage. They don't have the capability of foreseeing that. So once again, not necessarily the best. It says right here, is there any plans to stop the current slide of the stock price? And what's Lucid doing to obviously prevent it, or kind of whatever else? What is Lucid's plans to increase production throughout 2024? So clearly, like I said, just production and the stock price are people's concerns, and rightfully so. But over and above this, I'll just quickly move on to some data points, at least going into next week, and some expectations. So $1.11 million in calls being purchased versus 1.93 million in puts. So based on this, people are anticipating for it to trend down a little bit, despite the positive momentum that's been happening on Thursday and Friday. Looking at some of the calls for the volume, very much oriented towards the $5 range, especially after their earnings. So maybe people are anticipating for some positive results from that. And like I've signaled, when it comes down to shorts, they are kind of overextended. So I'm not here saying that Lucid's going to have a short squeeze by any means, but you probably will see some shorts slowly close out some of their position, and maybe with some good earnings, maybe, I don't know. Some people are clearly hedging based on that, but looking at puts for the open interest, people are anticipating for it to be sub $4 by the end of next week. So kind of interesting when it comes down to that. But let's talk on technicals. Right now with it at $4.62, it actually has been doing a pretty kick-ass job. So it's been above the pivot point. So it was able to close above $4.59. So as it stands, the very strong line in the sand is $3.94. So that's going to be that very strong support. And then $5.24 is going to be the next strong resistance. But with Friday closing slightly above the pivot right now, I wouldn't really consider any formation of support at that stage. So still, we'll just have to see exactly what Monday does bring to see if it drags it back into this S1 and the pivot, or if it keeps it between this pivot and the R1. So definitely a lot of volatility is going to be in the foreseeable futures, especially with people trying to digest Thursday and Friday's rally to see if it's justified. Then at the same time, their earnings, there's going to be a lot of different things coming all at once. But let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And give yourself a shout out. Have you been buying over the last little bit? Did you sell? What did you do with Lucid? And what do you think vaguely on their upcoming earnings? Do you think it's going to be positive, negative? What's your viewpoint on all of that? But one final thing I just wanted to share with you, Moomoo has a kick-ass offer right now, and they just made it so much better. So sign up for an account with Moomoo, throw $100 at it, you get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000, but now you get a 1 free share of SoFi, and any cash that you do have in this account, you get 5.1 APY. So this is one of the best deals, only up until November the 20th. Link in the description below and also the comments. So definitely take advantage of this promo while you can. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, I appreciate all of you watching.